And that single question, uttered almost by accident, changed everything. From that moment on, every odd detail, every strange moment, every unexplained inconsistency took on new meaning. The storm had officially begun. As the accusations erupted across the fictional community, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Word traveled fast, faster than anyone expected. Within hours, comment sections were overflowing, group chats were buzzing, and fan forums were tearing themselves apart trying to make sense of what had just unfolded. What began as a contained conflict suddenly became a full-blown online wildfire. Some supporters were furious, convinced that this was the ultimate betrayal. They demanded answers, demanded accountability, demanded justice. To them, the evidence felt undeniable, the pattern too suspicious to ignore. They began rallying behind the idea that if the allegations were true, prison time wasn't just appropriate, it was necessary. Hashtags started forming, videos circulated, and the call became louder. She needs to go to prison for this. But not everyone bought into the narrative. Another group rose up, skeptical and vocal, insisting the situation didn't add up. They questioned the timeline, the documents, the source of the accusations. They reminded others how quickly rumors could snowball into something unrecognizable. What if this is all a misunderstanding? They wondered. What if the evidence wasn't real or worse, was planted? Their voices added tension to an already fragile situation, leaving the community split down the middle. The emotional toll was brutal. On one side, the accusers felt shaken, violated, and desperate for closure. On the other, the accused, confused, overwhelmed, and isolated, faced a hurricane of judgment before they even had the chance to speak. Every post, every reaction video, every whispered conversation added another layer to the chaos, pulling friends and family into the storm whether they wanted to be involved or not. To break through the noise, some creators offered a legal-style breakdown of what identity theft would actually mean in this scenario. They explained how serious the charges could be: fraud, unauthorized use of personal information, financial damages, even intent. In the fictional world of this story, the consequences weren't light. If the accusations were proven true, the punishment could be severe: real time behind bars, restitution, and a permanent stain on someone's record. This analysis intensified the debate, making everything feel even more real and urgent. And then came the dramatic pause, the moment where the entire community held its breath. Did she actually do it? Or was this an innocent situation spiraling out of control, twisted, magnified, and weaponized by fear and misunderstanding? The truth was still murky, hidden beneath layers of emotion, speculation, and online frenzy. No one knew what would surface next, only that the next piece of information had the power to either clear someone's name or destroy it entirely. The story spread fast, some shouted for punishment, others doubted the claims entirely. What mattered most now was, how do you come back from something this big? As the final minutes unfold, the packing slows. The intense music fades into something quieter, still heavy, but reflective. The camera lingers on empty rooms, scattered documents, dim hallways, and the silent aftermath of everything that's happened in this dramatized world. After all the accusations, after the chaos, the theories, the shockwaves, what are we left with? A montage plays, fans arguing online, characters sitting alone with their thoughts, unanswered questions hanging heavy in the air. In this fictional scenario, the community reached a boiling point. Lines were drawn, loyalties were tested, and one demand echoed louder than the rest: she needs to go to prison for this. But even now, the truth remains tangled in emotion, suspicion, and fear. Cut to a slow zoom on a closed door, the kind that suggests secrets behind it. Did she do it? Was the evidence real? Or were the accusations fueled by panic, misunderstanding, and the need for someone to blame? In the end, that's the haunting part. Sometimes the story doesn't give us a clean answer. Sometimes we're left staring into the spaces between fact and feeling. A brief pause, subtle, dramatic. The screen fades toward a gentle, reflective montage of family photos, distant farm footage, and quiet moments meant to remind viewers that these narratives, even in fiction, echo real emotions within families everywhere. In the end, this dramatized storyline leaves us with one powerful reminder. Families, whether on TV or in real life, face unimaginable challenges when trust breaks down. And sometimes, the stories fans create say more about emotion, tension, and drama than anything that ever truly happened. Music swells one final time. With that said, thanks for watching. Dark, tense music fades in. The screen flickers with grainy security footage, documents sliding across a table, silhouettes arguing behind frosted glass, and quick flashes of blurred faces. Heavy drum hits match the cuts. What would you do if someone close to your family, someone you trusted, suddenly crossed a line so severe it changed everything? Tonight, we dive into a shocking what-if scenario that has shaken the fan community. A storyline that asks a brutal question. What happens when accusations of identity theft collide with years of tension, unresolved conflict, and strained relationships? This is the dramatized case of Caryn, a fictional narrative where trust collapses, secrets unravel, and the demand for justice reaches a breaking point. Cut to black, one final echoing heartbeat. In this 60-minute deep dive, we explore a fictionalized, dramatized chapter inspired by the tensions, theories, and long-running conversations that fans have imagined for years. This is not a claim of real events. Instead, it's a compelling what-if storyline, a dramatic lens through which we examine emotional dynamics, trust, betrayal, and the fragile bonds that hold families together. Slow pan over a dimly lit farmhouse, soft music underscores a growing sense of unease. For years, viewers have sensed the growing tension between key figures, moments of silence, awkward interactions, and subtle signs that all was not well beneath the surface. Online discussions amplified every small shift, every clipped sentence, every look that felt a little too sharp. From Reddit threads to fan-made theories, speculation grew into full-blown alternative storylines. Clips of fans discussing plotlines, headlines scrolling past. And in the world of fan-built drama, few scenarios hit harder than the idea of broken trust. Why do people imagine extreme stories? Because extreme stories reflect extreme emotions. When relationships feel fragile, when loyalties feel uncertain, fans project the fears that characters themselves never voice. And nothing embodies betrayal more dramatically than the idea of identity theft, the crossing of a boundary so deep, it shakes the foundation of family. In this imagined storyline, the accusation doesn't just symbolize a crime. It represents the emotional weight of years of tension. It reflects what happens when communication breaks down, when resentment grows unchecked, and when people begin to suspect the worst. This introduction sets the tone for a slow-building, suspense-filled narrative, a fictional investigation where every detail matters, every choice has consequences, and every character faces the fallout. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. What began as whispers soon grew into a storm. The small signs people ignored suddenly looked much bigger, and every unexplained moment added fuel to the fire. As the weeks unfolded, the tension inside the family slowly tightened. What started as tiny inconsistencies, barely noticeable, easy to write off, began to line up in unsettling ways. First, it was a strange charge on a bank statement, then another, and then another. At first, everyone assumed it was a simple mistake, maybe a mix-up, maybe a forgotten subscription, maybe just life being messy. But the pattern didn't go away, it grew. Friends close to the family started noticing that something felt off. Conversations felt shorter, tones grew sharper, and stress seemed to hang in the air like a heavy fog. Even routine family gatherings were no longer relaxed. Instead, people watched each other more carefully, trying to decode what wasn't being said out loud. Then came the moment no one could ignore. A series of financial discrepancies appeared, this time linked directly to accounts no one outside the immediate household should have access to. Passwords had been changed, statements weren't matching, and transactions appeared in places they didn't belong. The confusion created a ripple of anxiety that moved from room to room, stirring suspicion, frustration, and fear. One question led to another, and by now, the small whispers had become impossible to silence. Rumors began circulating quietly among extended family and close friends. Some wondered if it was all just a massive misunderstanding. Others felt something darker was unfolding beneath the surface. Theories grew, suspicions spread, and even the calmest voices couldn't hold back the rising tide of doubt. Eventually, the unthinkable suggestion surfaced, softly at first, almost whispered, as if saying it too loudly might break something important. Could Caryn be involved? The room went silent, eyes shifted. No one wanted to believe it, but no one could completely dismiss it either.